21st Century Archmage. Author, Kim Gwang-soo. Chapter 16. The Black Wyvern Mercenaries. What kind of road is this? I never expected a flat path like a highway, but the unending grasslands and low hills made me anxious. Maybe I took the wrong path. After duking it out with the Lord, I got on my horse and rode off with no real direction. There was no reason for me to go to the castle anymore, so I just rode roughly towards the north. Before I knew it, the sun was setting, but I hadn't seen head or hair of another human being. This stupid world without a map or Google Maps. Won't I just embarrass myself and become a missing child at this rate? According to the village chief, this place was the southern continent's Dapus kingdom. That's why I went northward, but what greeted me was an empty wasteland. Will I have to completely camp out? All I had for rations was the bag of bread on the horse's back. I don't even have magic crystal dust, so I can't deploy a magic circle. Countless magic circles came to mind. Alarm magic, defense magic, protection magic. There were plenty of magic circles necessary in the wild. But I lacked the crucially necessary magic crystal dust. What's the use of having money if it's no use at a time like this? In entrusting Jameer with the village, I had left him 40,000 gold. On top of that, I gave 4,500 gold to the village chief to use in case of emergency. What was left was 10,000 gold. Since Jameer didn't have so much on him at the time, he had given me a placard that I could exchange at some store at Ruba's castle. If I went to the store and gave my name, I could receive 10,000 gold in cash or in exchange for goods. But the problem was that I was now stuck in this wasteland without a single store selling popsicles. I suddenly longed for the 21st century, where you could just open your door and be greeted by 24/7 convenience stores and all sorts of stores. Oh, that is. While I was yearning for my homeland, I saw smoke rising from afar. Oh yay, my uneasy mood became better all at once. It was as if someone had passed over an aquafina mineral water to a thirsty man. Run, Ronaldo. In the short time we'd spent together, I had already attached the name Ronaldo to my horse. Nay. The completely relaxed Ronaldo gave a long neigh and advanced with great force. As he galloped, I eagerly hoped that the people who appeared would be kind guys who could give us a meal and a place to stay. Stop right there. If you come close, we'll shoot. As we approached the place where smoke was steadily rising into the sky, I saw a score of carriages and a group of people, in addition to several mercenaries armed with bows, who halted my excited rush with their warning words. So much for hospitality. I was just someone they met on the road, so I didn't expect them to be totally happy to see me, but their idea of hospitality was to immediately point arrows at my face. It was no different from getting a gun leveled at you in Harlem, New York. Era? These guys are. I was about 50 meters away, and from there, I could see that a few of the mercenaries who were pointing their fully drawn bows towards me had very familiar faces. Aren't you that kid? Aren't you that brat with the big head from that village in the middle of nowhere? Leader, come over here. They recognized me too. Ah shit, why'd it have to be these guys? It was the self-styled Black Wyvern third-rate mercenary group, which had guarded the Darren merchants at the village. Hey, you kiddo with no manners. What are you doing, coming here without fear? Pahaha, Ron, you better be careful tonight. The kiddo must have come for revenge. This can only be called fate. The pot-bellied Ron wielding an axe came to the forefront and gave me a nice welcome. Apparently the others hadn't forgotten the events of that day, because they raucously made fun of him. What's going on? Queried the mercenaries' leader, having come after being called. Ain't it obvious? I'm clearly a homeless runaway delinquent. How have you been, leader? I'm dreaming big this time, and would like to devote myself to the mercenary life. If you haven't forgotten your promise from before, I'll run this body of mine ragged for you. Devote? You're a funny guy. Come here. It seems you've run away from the village. Have you already eaten? It's good for me if he makes that assumption. It put me at ease that no one knew I was a mage. I still didn't know enough about this world. There probably wasn't anyone who knew more in that regard than these mercenaries who traveled the world. Thank you very much. Even while talking, I had ridden bit by bit closer to them, so now we were 20 meters away. The onlooking mercenaries lowered their bows, and eventually I was standing next to the leader of the Black Wyvern mercenaries. Did your parents give permission? The leader asked, clearly not knowing much about me. Would your parents give the okay? The leader threw out such an obvious question. If you're a man whose junk stands tall from the break of dawn, you should follow the path of a man rather than listening to your parents. Leader, didn't you also say you ran away from home when you were 15 years old? Said the sweating Ron, his vulgar words cut short by panting breaths. Indeed. Welcome. I'm the leader of the Black Wyverns, Heath. As expected of the leader, he's got a bit of mana energy. Unlike the other mercenaries, who were like sturdy mountains, Leader Heath's body gave off slight traces of mana energy. My name is Kyre. I'll be in your care from now on, leader. All right, Kyre, let's do well together, said Heath, extending his hand for a shake. Leader Heath, what's going on? The moment we were about to shake hands, a middle-aged rogue man, looking to be in his 40s, came towards us. Sir Hamer, a lad who wanted to join our mercenary group since a while ago, came over, so we were just greeting him. That young lad? Oh, are you sure of his identity? The middle-aged man raked me from head to toe with his eyes, as if examining some goods. It seemed that he was the merchant who had hired the mercenaries. I'm sure of his identity. He's a boy from Fiori Territories, Luna Village. I'm not getting a bad impression. All right, as long as it doesn't inconvenience the trip, it doesn't matter to me. Haha, please do not worry. Our Black Wyvern mercenaries have a creed of honesty and sincerity. The merchant Hamer seemed to be rendered speechless by Leader Heath's words. He silently turned and returned to the bonfire where the other merchants were gathered. Ha. Inside, I was dying with laughter, but I held it in. It might not be for long, but I was in the mercenaries' care for now. I couldn't just burst out laughing here. Kiddo, what's with a horse? It wasn't a very wealthy village, but you managed to take such a good thing with you. When I left home, I dragged along 2 goats with me, but I guess kids these days have big balls. Looking at Ronaldo, Ron burst out in admiration while exposing me as a kid with big nuts. Whether it's here or Earth, there's not much difference. I guess it's tradition to take a lump sum with you when you run away from home. As the old sages said, anywhere inhabited by humans was the same. This naturally also applied to Callian. Just like that, I became a mercenary. After living as a farmer and then a fisherman, this was all to acquire new professional skills. Asterisk. Huh. As I pushed her down the wheat fields, the moon was truly bright. If her hunter of a father had discovered us then, I would have died to an arrow of his, but I wasn't scared. The fresh smell of wheat around us, and the feeling of the woman trembling in my arms. Kaya, how my heart raced. And then what happened? Talk faster. I'm on the edge of my seat here. These misters. It wasn't even like they were watching porn. But even as they guarded the merchant carriages, wide-eyed, salivating mercenaries surrounded Ron as he bragged about his brightly shining past. The people were different, but for a moment, I thought I was back in one of the classrooms in South Korea. Even at Daeon High School, where only the cream of the crop was gathered, the boys would gather during every break to whisper stealthily about the world of sex. Whether it was my friends who exchanged porn or hentai through email, or these shamelessly drooling mercenary dudes, there was really no difference. Alas, at that moment, lycanthrope bastards attacked the village, so I was only able to undress her halfway before I had to go fight. Arg, those poop-headed shitty lycanthropes. Is that the end? What about the girl in the wheat field? Sob, I can't tell the rest without some alcohol. It tears my heart to think about it, even now. Yoa, my love, Cisnea. Ron apparently had sensitivity belying his size. His plushy folds trembled as he bellowed like a Siberian brown bear. That stupid lass waited until my return. Only, it wasn't me who came, but a lycanthrope, and he took Cisnea. Those wretches, even though I already marked her all over with my spit. The injustice. The injustice. What? Is that how it ended? Are you saying that this Cisnea woman was taken away from you by a lycanthrope without even doing the deed with her? The end of it is that I received bloody training from the village militia chief in order to get revenge on the lycanthropes. And then I went into the mountains to find her. After a while, I found them. But I shouldn't have gone looking. Why? Ron's story was getting a bit strange. Strangely enough, the storyline made you want to know more. That girl with no loyalty or fidelity was making hard eyes a lycanthrope, and was living well with babies by her side. To forget this great Ron and become one of the lycanthropes. At that shock, I escaped with 2 of the chief's goats. And as you guys know, I became the invincible Ron I am today. He definitely has symptoms of schizophrenia. TSK. His tale was as unbelievable as the story about the moon rabbits running the mill on the moon being unable to repay their debts. Loan shark rabbits came after them and were chased away with mortar and pestle to Mars. Ron, you liar. I'm a stupid one for getting fooled. The mercenaries got mad and turned away from Ron. The mercenary work is easier than I thought, too. It was a boring job where you either rode a horse or walked in conjunction with the carriages. The danger and tension I imagined was nowhere to be found. How is it? Not too bad, right? Asked Leader Heath as he came up to me. It's only my first day on the job, and you asked me that. Heath was already asking me what I thought, even though I became a mercenary just last night and only spent half a day doing this. What did he expect from a kid? He just scouted from a village in the boonies. It's so-so. The drifting clouds are good, and the birds flying over there are good, right? Huh, I knew it. I knew you would be able to truly appreciate the romance of the mercenary life. What the heck is he trying to say? Just suffer a bit under me. After living this tough and long road as a mercenary, one day, we too will become a top-grade mercenary group with Sky Knights. A top-grade mercenary group with Sky Knights. This tidbit made my ears perk right up. Can mercenaries also use wyverns? Of course. I heard you can acquire them from the mercenary kingdom, Louisville. Even the cheapest one costs 200,000 gold in Empire currency. So we just need to earn 200,000 gold? Isn't that almost as much as most territories? According to Jameer, a small territory only sold among nobles cost between 300 to 500,000 gold. The price of a wyvern was similar in scale to that. Do mercenary groups really make that much? I really couldn't imagine a mercenary group making more than 1,000 or so gold in a single year, much less 200,000. Leader, how much does our black wyvern mercenaries make in commission from an escort like this? Commission? On an escort like this, which takes 1 month, I get 30 gold since I can use Aurablade, and the others get 3 gold apiece for a little less than 100 gold total. Why do you ask? 100 gold? With that, exactly how long do you need to save without eating or spending any of it? A rough calculation revealed that they would make 1,200 gold in 1 year and 12,000 gold in 10. They would have to earn for 100 years to scrape together 120,000 gold. Are you joking me? Aren't you taking me for a total fool who doesn't know basic calculation? Arg, it would be way faster to just catch tuna or hunt demonic beasts in order to get the money for a wyvern. My faith completely dried up towards Heath and his men, who had created the mercenary group with a name as extraordinary as the Black Wyverns. Haha, I was just curious. Sky Knights seem to be truly amazing. To cost 200,000 gold apiece. Of course, the biggest dream of all men on the continent is to become a Sky Knight. After all, to be a flying knight of the azure sky. A warrior among warriors, wielding a long sword and standing atop a wyvern with its huge wings spread out and ruling over the skies and land. Doesn't just the thought of it make your heart race? Look over there. Those eagles flying in the sky. Write a novel. I didn't pin him as the type, but it seemed the leader was slightly off in the head. Apparently, he was no different from the girthy, dense mercenaries who were playing footsie while following the escort. A Sky Knight. Even a mercenary group like this wanted to own a wyvern. Deep within my chest bloomed a burning desire to have one myself. Leader. HM? What's up, Kyre? Can the average mage or knight stand up to a Sky Knight? What nonsense. Have you ever heard of an orc eating drugs to defeat an ogre? And no, right? That phrase is as ridiculous as the one you just asked. How can a knight be a match for a Sky Knight, who hurls aura spears from several kilometers up high? Even a mage wouldn't be able to cover such a distance, and most mages have poor physical strength, so they would definitely become arrow pincushions and die to the magic spears controlled by a Sky Knight's will. In all of history, there isn't a knight or mage who has taken down a Sky Knight. To think of it, there's actually just one person. Really? A person who took down a Sky Knight. I actually counted towards that, but that wasn't something I could say. To think of it, it was a close victory won only because the Lord underestimated my strength and came too close. Who is this person who caught this tank in the sky? I became curious about the person's name. He is a person who is still remembered in the annals of history. My grandma even told me that at one point, his name could make crying children stop crying. Voot? Was he scarier than the Chupacabra? That mage was apparently scarier than a monster that appeared in old-school videos warning parents to choose media for their kids carefully. He was the gangster mage of the continent who disappeared 100 years ago. I'm not sure if you've heard of him. There were rumors that mages and magic towers from the entire empire and all the kingdoms coordinated in order to kill him. A single person. Era? 100 years ago? Every mage? Isn't this something I've heard before? Master had left the Callian continent about 100 years ago. A strange feeling traveled up my spine. The one and only 8th Circle Archmage. He may have been a white mage, but his notoriety surpassed any necromancer and black mage around. The ruthless golden-eyed reaper with a temper. His name was Adel. My master's name fell involuntarily from my lips. Huh, so you did know? Yes, the golden-eyed reaper Adel was the only mage who could make mincemeat of a sky knight in the sky. Holy, I had resolved myself to not get surprised, but a cry of astonishment still escaped my lips after hearing about my master's insane fame and notoriety, which exceeded that of even the most cruel and awful black mages. Ack, it does make sense. Master Bumdaff is no righteous and honorable man. Even in his letter to me, he had written out a simplified list of his sworn enemies. He had claimed that he could loiter in any kingdom and be showered with presents and met with courtesy anywhere, and that people were falling over themselves to offer him unlimited research funds. His words couldn't be farther from the truth. I never saw him myself, but if you listen to the songs sung even today about him by bards, Archmage Adel's tyranny was apparently very impressive. It said that even as a 100-year-old man, he was extremely greedy for pretty girls and money. On top of that, his temperament was terribly vicious, so if he happened to hear someone calling him a bad mage, he would burn a completely fine magic tower and all the mages inside to a crisp with a single blow. The only mage to be considered more vicious than monsters or demons was none other than Adel. If I say a name like Adel in the future, I won't be a person, but a frickin' amoeba. Even now, Master Bumdaff's notoriety was alive and well. There was no doubt he was treated like a demon king on this continent. What an impressively evil mage, right? To be considered even more nasty than demons themselves. I heard the amount of money he used alone was equivalent to a country's entire annual wage. Keck, Master, you are truly the top. His expenditures had been equivalent to a country's entire wage for a year. He definitely nabbed all that money as polite donations from empires or kingdoms, so it couldn't completely be called an evil deed. But it was enough for prideful mages to gather up and send Master on an interdimensional tourism trip, in any case. That aside, it seems like it takes a lot of skills to tame and ride a wyvern. Is there a place where you can receive special training for that? Like a school for knights or something? School for knights? Of course. Sky Knights determine a nation's military power, so it's a crucial matter regulated by national law. Every nation has its own Sky Knight school. It's probably not easy to get in, right? Of course not. To raise a single Sky Knight takes a ridiculous amount of money, and the military force of a single wyvern is equivalent to that of an entire territory. So if someone were to take their wyvern and defect to an enemy country, it would deal a huge blow to the nation's fighting force. To prevent such a disaster, only nobles with titles and their progeny are allowed to enroll. It seems you don't know, but households tied to defecting wyvern riders receive the punishment for traitors. It's that bad. Of course, in the past, household histories had been examined in Korea as well if you wanted to enroll in military academy. But it wasn't to this degree. Seems it won't be easy without becoming a noble first. I wanted to become a Sky Knight and ride a cool wyvern in the sky. I really want to fly over the sea a moonlit night with Aramis. Of course, I had an important mission in mind. Is there no easier way to become a Sky Knight? Easy way? I told you, didn't I? Earn 200,000 gold and acquire one from the mercenary kingdom loves. So in the end, money is the problem. I really wanted to recover the paradise I had lost on Earth here on the Callian continent. That's why Sky Knights held a special meaning for me. Apparently, the military prowess of a nation wasn't determined by the number of soldiers you had, but how many Sky Knights you could mobilize. There's one other way. Another way? It's not completely impossible to become a Sky Knight without being a noble. Ow! This old guy, isn't he pretty good at teasing others? Leader Heath had a surprising gift of gab that could frustrate you to no end. You can enroll in the Sky Knight Academy if you're a 4th Circle Mage or a knight capable of Aura Blade under the age of 30. Isn't that exactly me? As expected, it was a universal truth that people with skills would receive their due worth no matter where they went. Only, they have to graduate from regular knight school first and receive a title. A title from regular knight school? There sure were a lot of conditions to become a Sky Knight with impressive fighting force. But do wyverns all look the same? Hoo-hoo, your country bumpkin is really showing now. Of course they're different. What's the name of our mercenary group? Black Wyvern Mercenaries. Exactly. Just like how people have different levels of ability, wyverns have different characteristics according to their breed. I know this because I looked into it with the intent to acquire one, but there are about 5 breeds, and among them, the strongest are the ones owned by the Budran Empire's royal guards, black wyverns. From what I've heard from people who have seen them, they've got muscular, huge black wings and black eyes, claws like steel, and even the ability to breathe fire. They're apparently so powerful that they can even be called little dragons. That's why I decided to name our mercenary group the Black Wyverns. Black Wyvern. Sound pretty good, huh? If I was going to ride a car, it was better to get something big and safe with a powerful engine. They're probably not easy to get, right? Of course not. The 40 or so Black Wyverns are treated almost like royalty and live in the royal palace. Not only that, but the symbol of the Budran Empire is the Black Wyvern, you know? It's no wonder they're almost worshipped there. Ooh, there's still so much I have to learn. Besides the types of wyverns, I didn't even know what empires or kingdoms were on the empire. I had my work cut out for me in respect to things I had to learn. Leader, what's up? Why are you looking at me with misty eyes? Please teach me many things in the future. I have never met a person as strong and smart as you. I really respect you, leader. Oh, so now you see my greatness. All right, do your best. I'll push you along with all my might. This third-rate mercenary group really couldn't boast of pushing anything along, but Leader Heath grinned wide at my flattery. I'll live with the mercenaries for now and gather information. And then, the realm of the 8th Circle awaited me in the future. I was determined to construct my own country on Callian continent. For dinner, I mooched off a meal of soup boiled with dried jerky and hardtack, the fire crackling around us. The carriages, packed to the brim with the miscellaneous goods the Aaron merchant group sold, were arranged in a defensive formation around us on the plains. These cheap-ass merchants. Even though we had arrived at a pretty big village, the merchants put out one excuse after another and camped out on the plains. If it were me, I would prefer to sleep while entrusting my safety to the village guards and its ramparts over these third-rate mercenaries. Thanks to the weather getting cooler in the last few days, the bonfire offered a precious warmth in the night. 10 or so mercenaries kept the night watch while the other mercs and the merchants occupied the bonfire and slept in leather sleeping bags. They say it's no good to sleep in dewdrops, but camping out still felt awkward. After roughly preparing a spot in the grass and receiving a weirdly smelling sleeping bag, I was put into a dilemma. It was too chilly to just sleep without it, but going into it gave me the feeling that there were still pieces of meat sticking to the surface. Zed, 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 zed. He sure is sleeping well. It didn't suit his appearance, but Ron was a pretty chatty guy and even paid extra attention to me, saying it was fate. Boasting that he would pass down all the things he had learned during his mercenary days, he laid down next to me. Now he was wholeheartedly sleeping away, perhaps because of how much he had run his mouth today. Aren't things pretty tense lately? Yeah, a decade ago, there weren't any wars, so making a living wasn't too tough, but unable to sleep, 3 Aaron merchants laid in my vicinity and chatted amongst themselves. There's a rumor that the Lavender Empire has been stockpiling supplies like mithril and iron ore for several years. The information comes from the Rockpella Merchant Group, the Empire's representative merchants, so it should be pretty credible. Have you heard? I've heard that too. I heard that as a result, the countries bordering Lavender Empire are completely freaked out. Apparently, they're making long-term contracts with not just soldiers, but also decent mercenaries. Sigh, those Empire bastards. They're already making a living, so they should just tend to their internal affairs. Why start a war? You said it. If those Lavender guys move, Budran won't stay still either. Huh. Everyone seems to be coming out of the shock from the continent-wide drought 5 years ago. I heard some heavy information from the merchants. So there are bully countries here too. Just like how there were a few countries waving their big sticks on Earth, there were countries doing that here as well. All right, did you hear that rumor? What rumor? This is something I heard from northern merchants a few days ago, but Havis Kingdom is taking Sky Knight candidates on a large scale this time. In Havis, you say? They're flailing in order to live, huh? Seriously, it's unlucky that they happen to be squished in between huge empires, but they even share a border with those savage Tamir. TSK. They've somehow managed to last well until now. Havis Kingdom has already been around for 400 years, right? They were once an empire, but after losing bits and pieces of their territory to warlike nations, now they've become like an old man on his last legs. It's a pity. I heard the Princess of Havis is a real beauty. Her name was Rosie Yav, right? That's right. Rosie Yav, Ice Flower of the North. It's a shame Her appearance is supposed to be unforgettable once you've seen it. Rosie Ave. While quietly listening, I heard a name that gave me a really good feeling. An ancient country squeezed between giants. It's just like Korea. This Havis Kingdom situation was like South Korea's. China, Japan, Russia, and even the US were all itching to get a bite. Let's go to sleep already. We'll need a good night's rest if we're going to go through Orc Valley tomorrow. Yeah, we'll be lucky to be leaving with our arms intact if those damn orcs show up like last time. A range of mountains could be seen not far from the campsite. Apparently, that was where Orc Valley was situated. It sure is bright. The voices of the merchants dwindled, leaving only this quiet night where even the grassland insects seemed to be subdued. The moon hung huge and bright in the night sky, accompanied by the shining stars. Looking up, I felt a sense of sorrow. Mom! Suddenly, I yearned for my mom's embrace. There was a gaping hole that only my mother could fill. On a night like this, the wind felt especially cold. Chapter 17, Dreaming of Sky Knighthood. Keep your eyes peeled. Oi, you guys, if you don't want to croak, hurry up. Frowning, Leader Heath hurried the mercenaries. Normally, the mercenaries would be cursing a few times with a leisurely air, but now they were silently peering into the distance while grasping their weapons. Now, they finally looked the part. Sometimes it was hard to tell whether these Black Wyvern mercenaries were really mercenaries or just local small fries. With tense expressions, they were exuding the serious air of a mercenary. The atmosphere in this Orc Valley is pretty bloody. The Orc Valley took up a portion of the Zar Mountains. Only by passing through here could one cross over to Idbul Kingdom territory. I won't have to do recon with Fly, right? Around 100 meters wide and 3,400 meters high. It wasn't a valley, but a huge gorge. We had to pass through this gorge, which would take half day. Even I felt like something would jump out at us at any moment. From the destroyed carriages laying knocked over here and there, I could guess that quite a few people had gotten injured here. Kyre, get off the horse and walk. You'll just become a target for orc archers otherwise, Ron said, holding his axe and shield. This tension, it's no joke. My heart was racing more than that time I hunted the demon beast. The mood of the others was really contagious. The mercenaries and even the merchants were holding up shields while cautiously hurrying the carriages along. Shouldn't soldiers be guarding a path like this? We were still in Dapis Kingdom territory. Having passed the Fury territory, we were now in a barony on the Zar Mountains. Although a place like this, which was often used by merchants, should be protected by those rich with taxes, lords, or royalty, soldiers were nowhere to be found. They're just saying that you should protect your own life? I'll keep that in mind as a reference. Knowing something was different from experiencing it yourself. I was getting used to Callian Continent's customs one by one. What's that sound? A very faint noise entered my ears. As my mana grew, my physical abilities, starting from my senses, grew stronger. Right now, I could hear the whinnying of horses and the shouts of people. It seemed something was happening not too far from us. Will we be all right like this? I hadn't fought with any other monsters besides the Tavlager before, but knowing their skills, I was somewhat doubtful that the Black Wyvern mercenaries could handle a fight. It made me worried, since even though we had only been together for a short while, they were still my colleagues. Ron, can you fight a few orcs on your own? Maybe 3 or 5. TH3? Ahem. Of course, there's no problem, even if 10 of them come running at once. Even if they're orcs, this great Ron's battle axe will split their heads like ripe watermelons. Oh haha, 10 orcs? Even though it looks like it'll be a close call with just one. Judging from Ron's forced laughter and false pretense, I could grasp the fighting power of the orcs. Stop the carriages, called out Leader Heath, his senses sharpened. Leader Heath, is there a problem? Said the merchant Hamer tremulously while leading the merchant group. I'm afraid that we've got the worst luck today. It seems there's a battle going on in the valley. A battle. I'm certain that other merchants are getting attacked. I can hear shouting on the wind. And an attack. Then what should we do? Asked Hamer with fright. That's something the employer should decide, isn't it? What will you do? The merchants had hired the mercenaries for moments like this. Heath passed over the decision to Hamer. We have to get through here today. Merchant Heath looked very troubled. A merchant group couldn't just come and go whenever they wanted. Deadlines were quite pressing. Then we will forcefully rush through. Please, if we can just go through here safely, I'll add extra to your commission fee at the castle. Understood, said Leader Heath, nodding with a dependable air. Fellows, you all heard that, right? The boss wants us to break through. Mercenaries of the Black Wyvern. Can you do it? No problem, we'll break through. What's 1 or 2 orcs to us? We are the invincible black wyvern mercenaries. Then watch your lines and depart. Go! After rousing up the group with false confidence, Heath raised a shield and stood at the very fore, followed by the next strongest mercenaries. It seems like a pretty big battle, though. I understood the merchant's feelings, but no matter how you cut it, it was too much to expect to get out scot-free with the black wyverns. Licking my lips, I followed the carriages next to Ron. In any case, I was bound to the mercenary group right now. If we were going to do it, I had no choice but to follow along. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Everyone, prepare for battle. Around 200 meters into the gorge, I suddenly saw a broad, open lot laid out between the walls of the gorge. A horrifying scene awaited us there. Those bastards. There was a small merchant convoy with 10 or so carriages and around 30 people, including mercenaries, coachmen, and merchants. The group was in fierce close combat battle with hideous orcs whose lower bodies were clothed in leather. Attack! Say the people. Upon seeing the people getting attacked by orcs, Heath gave the battle command with a seething voice. Even as the words left his mouth, he was already moving. There's more than 100 of them. The orcs fought fiercely, wielding rusted spears and swords clearly taken from humans. All of them were only about 160 centimeters, 5.2 feet, tall, but their bulging muscles and mottled skin was a sight to see. Fangs protruded from their faces, their noses boasted huge nostrils, and their eyes were filled with insanity. Orcs! Yua! Cried Ron, though he had just said even 10 orcs wouldn't be his match. Ron, aren't you charging in? I want to, but who will guard the carriages? While the other mercenaries were all running forward, Ron gave the carriages as an excuse and stood there trembling. Swing! As for me, I unsheathed my sword and ran forth. Where are you going, Kyre? Can't you see? I'm going to catch some orcs. It's dangerous. Hurry and come back. It's more dangerous to be with Ron. But I kept those words to myself and just ran. Reinforcements. Everyone fight on. Squeal. Squeal ill. Scores of bleeding men lay collapsed on the ground. Their brainless massacre interrupted. The orcs shrieked upon seeing the black wyvern mercenaries. Squeal. Squeal. The orcs communicated with ear-shattering squeals. At least half of them turned around to face the black wyvern mercenaries. You bastards, get a taste of this. Heath ran at the forefront. A blue aura blade bloomed like a thin thread from his blade. According to the criteria here that I had heard from Ron, the strength of an aura blade was divided into several levels. Heath wasn't a blade knight who could color his entire blade with aura blade, but an aura user. He swung his large bastard sword at an orc that was plunging its spear forward. Squeal! With a splattering sound, the orc was cleaved in half at the waist. Blue blood spurted out like a fountain as the orc gave out a dying howl, its yellow teeth gleaming. You rotten orcs! Kill them all! How dare you, you shitty orcs! Clang! Clang! Here were the invincible black wyvern mercenaries, whose mouths were fiercer than their skills. They began to brawl with greater liveliness than I expected. Why did they have to look like humans? Though they were orcs who were killing humans, they still walked upright. It didn't feel great to watch them die. Squeal! However, no one waited for me to make a decision. The orcs outnumbered us. Before I knew it, one of them was thrusting its rusted glaive at my neck. Keh! Despite my feelings of reluctance, my body reacted rapidly. My weighty longsword, normally used by knights, swung down forcefully on the orc's glaive. Clash! Sparks flew as metal met metal. It's strong. The feeling of colliding with simple muscular strength revealed the orc's stupidly enormous power. It was like hitting a wall. Looking at these orcs, who could proudly look down on bodybuilders, I could finally understand why Master had laughed at my skills and asked me if I wanted to become orc poop. Gwa! The orc's yellow eyes were blazing with fierceness. Looking at the eyes oozing with discharge and the mouth full of yellow teeth spitting thick gobs of saliva, my feelings of pity flew far, far away. This isn't a joke right now. This is a battlefield. If I want to live, I have to kill. I have to end this guy. Having judged that my muscular strength was weaker than its own, the orc bared a fanged smile at me. Huh. With a grunt, I drew a little mana and filled my sword with it. Then my sword cutting through the air with its speed, I let loose a horizontal slash. Swing! Slashing horizontally, the sensation of cutting through flesh and bone traveled from the hilt to my hand. Trembling seized my body for a moment, leaving me unable to pull out my sword from the orc's body. Demon beasts just looked like four-legged animals, so I had no qualms, but orcs were similar to humans. My heart raced, and my breathing accelerated. Squeal. But even my horror lasted only a moment, because another orc thrust its long spear at the person who had just killed its comrade me. Clenching my teeth with a grinding noise, I pulled out the sword from the orc. The moment I did so, blue blood spurted out with a gushing noise. The enormous force of the blood drenched my clothes. Kill to live. My mind was shaken awake. Drenched as I was, I whirled with my sword and cut down on the orc's forehead. Oh, newcomer, aren't you impressive? Did you see it? His blade was filled with a bluish aura blade. What? How could that be possible at that age? I'm telling you, I saw it with my own eyes. I got too worked up. The bloodthirst exuded by the orcs and mercenaries had gotten to me, too. As a result, 10 or so orcs lay lifeless on the ground near me. Thank you. If it wasn't for you all, we would have. Many thanks. The Wakan mercenaries sincerely expressed their thanks to your mercenary group. We merely lent a shoulder. But did you not take Orc Valley too lightly? To attempt to cross with just 20 mercenaries. The stairs of the Black Wyverns moved to the merchants and mercenaries attacked by orcs. That is our fault. We had to pass through here, suddenly, but couldn't acquire enough mercenaries. It is all due to our mercenary group's incompetence. The small convoy with only 10 or so carriages was accompanied by the small Wakan mercenaries. To my eyes, the Black Wyvern mercenaries wasn't all that different, but leader Heath was standing very tall and proud. Please save me. Sob. And Mommy. There's so many injured. Thanks to Heath's and my contribution, the Black Wyvern mercenaries had only accrued a few injuries, but the merchants, coachmen, and Wakan mercenaries who had taken the brunt of the orcs' attack had suffered huge damage. Many were injured or dying. So this is death. For the first time in my life, I saw someone dying. I saw the bodies of the people whose red blood contrasted with the blue blood of the orcs. Regret and some strange other feeling blocked my chest. Please use a potion and treat the injured, said Leader Heath, his brows furrowed. But if we use a potion, it won't just be a problem of orcs. Other demon beasts could attack us. The surviving merchants trembled in fear as they rejected Heath's proposal. That's true. Once we pass Orc Valley, it will be several days before we can reach a village with a temple where we can acquire another potion. If they die, then it's just their fate. The leader of the Wakan mercenaries, a sideburns man, agreed with the merchants. So they have to throw away their comrades in order to survive. The mercenaries' expressions were dark as they looked at the people with severe injuries. There were 5 or 6 people who looked like their breaths would stop at any moment without the help of potions or healing magic. If only we had a mage at a time like this. What are you talking about? What kind of mage would join a third-rate mercenary group like this? Even first-rate mercenary groups are bending backwards to accommodate a third-circle mage. Yeah, if it were me, I wouldn't choose to enter a mercenary group that can't even protect its own. You'd have to be empty in the head to do so. Though it wasn't their own colleagues who were dying and it wasn't related to them, the Black Wyvern mercenaries were watching on with pained expressions. Today, it was other mercenaries who were dying, but they knew it could very well be themselves the next day. Jeron, hold on. If you die to a wound like this, who will take care of the wife and kids you love? Fight on, Jeron. A man was holding back tears as he pressed his hands against the bleeding belly of his friend Jeron, a man in his early 30s who had taken an orc's spear to the abdomen. And my friend, I'm sorry, but my wife. Blood surged from his mouth as the light began to fade from Jeron's eyes. Please move aside. I couldn't stand still and watch anymore. Move? My friend is dying right now, and you want to move aside. Jeron's friend was biting his lips hard while fighting tears. If you don't want to kill your friend, then please listen to me. Are you a fucking priest? Or a mage? How dare you keep me from watching my friend's last moments? Gee. Without discerning friend between foe, the man directed his rage towards me. I raised my fist and punched him right then and there, my fist connecting with a thump. At the considerable force behind my punch, the man flew back and fell onto his butt. It's no time to be considering the consequences. My decision here can save lives. The lives involved weren't evil people who wanted to kill me, but regular third-rate mercenaries with families. They were precious lives that gave me no choice but to reveal the truth, which I had been concealing for my own comfort. Heal. Whoa. And Mage. At my sudden impulsive actions, everyone's gazes converged on me, and as soon as I brought forth the yellow light of life with magic, cries of shock exploded from the mercenaries. Please hold on a bit. You won't die. The intestines were deeply injured by the spear attack. Thankfully, besides the guts, Geron didn't seem to have any other injuries. That's a relief. No matter how often I saw it, the shocking power of magic fascinated me. The powerful mana that stabilized after ascending to the 5th circle was transferred to some extent and treated the injury. Foam bubbled up on the injury as if disinfectant had been applied. Within the foam, the injury was being healed to perfection and new skin was formed on top. He's a 5th circle mage. My God! Having accrued plenty of experience traveling the world, the mercenaries could tell my level of magic. Heal magic was possible even at the 2nd circle. But it seemed the mercenaries had a rough idea of the law of mana proportions, which stated that the level of magic would correspond to the number of circles and the amount of mana one possessed. Thank you, Sir Mage. Stop. Despite receiving healing magic, the mercenary named Geron thanked me with a face that still looked like he was in utter agony. If you're thankful, then live well. There was no doubt that this man, Geron, had taken up mercenary work in order to provide for his wife and kids. The hope of life began to blaze again in his eyes, replacing the despair that was there only moments before. For things that go against my conscience, if I don't do them even though I can, that too is a sin. Just like that, I realized one of my guiding principles. It was a little presumptuous for a 17-year-old boy like me to think this, but I was gradually becoming an adult on Callian. In this world, where the law of the jungle truly reigned, I had to live to the utmost with my own power. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. I deeply apologize for anything that may have offended you up until now, said Hamer, the leader of the merchants, as he bowed low. This is why I hid it. It was because I found out what kind of treatment mages received on Callian from the villagers that I decided to hide my skills. However, my identity was revealed due to this situation where I had no choice, and the merchants and mercenaries who had grasped the truth were looking at me with fearful gazes even as we continued traveling. No, please. It was my bad for concealing the fact that I am a mage. And no, please don't say such a thing. Waving his hand with a look of utter seriousness, it was painfully obvious how fearful Hamer was. K. Kyrnim, could you perhaps tell us which magic tower you are affiliated with? Leader Heath, who had thumped my shoulders while guffawing that I should just work hard under him only a few hours ago, was now cautiously asking a question about my identity. It's a secret. Yes, I understand. He didn't even ask twice. Heath nodded his head with a completely submissive attitude. Are mages crime bosses? Why is everyone so afraid? I hadn't met any other mages yet, but I could get an idea of what kind of existences mages were from the fearful countenances of the mercenaries, who weren't even normal civilians. Is that Chadar Castle? Yes, that is the castle of Dapis Kingdom's Marquis, Rohan de Chadar. While taking a short break after coming out of Orc Valley, I could see a castle on the plains far away. He seems to be a person with a rather good reputation. That is indeed the case in the Dapis Kingdom. The northern lands protected by Marquis, Rohan embody the most important strategic foothold in the country, so all the kingdom's citizens, including His Royal Majesty, respect the Marquis. We were still pretty high up on the mountain ridge, so the huge plains were stretched out before us. Above Chadar Castle emerged 10 or so dots that flew towards us. It's the Marquisdom Sky Knights. Wow, amazing. We still had half a day of traveling with the carriages to go, but the Sky Knights and Wyverns were able to cover that distance in just a moment. So cool. This was a coordinated group. It couldn't be compared to Fiori Viscount's Wyvern, who had flown alone. 10 Wyverns flapped their wings together in crane wing formation. Just looking at it made my heart stop in my throat. Sky Knight. My heart thumped at the mere mention of Sky Knights. Long live the Marquis. Whoa, you're so cool. In a flash, the Wyverns were near us. Each one was equipped with magic armor and bore the dual swords emblem of the Marquisdom. Gripping reins atop the Wyverns stood 10 Sky Knights, their red mantles flapping behind them. My hands turned into fists. I will definitely become a Sky Knight with the coolest Wyvern. This was a promise that I, Kang Hyuk, made to myself. As I watched the Wyverns fly over our head and flap away, I resolved myself once again to become a Sky Knight. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. What did you say? The egg alone costs 200,000 gold. It's true. On top of that, Top-grade holy water is poured onto them daily until they hatch in order to purge monster traces, and the cost to nurture them and train them to fly for just 1 year adds up to tens of thousands. In addition, to protect your wyvern, you have to purchase mithril alloy armor engraved with weight reduction and protection magic, which costs 100,000 gold alone, as well as the magic armor used by Sky Knights, another tens of thousands of gold. To acquire a single wyvern and start flying it, the initial costs are around 400,000 gold. 400,000. With 400,000 gold, you could even buy yourself a small territory. The people of Luna Village had been crying tears of blood over 50 gold, but Hamer was spitting out a number like 400,000 as if it was nothing. That's why the place most central to every empire and kingdom is the Sky Knight Academy and its associated facilities. They can earn hundreds of thousands of gold by breeding wyverns, and even if Sky Knights with formal training didn't shell out huge fees for hatched wyverns, the country would do their best to maintain these facilities. Leader Heath, you liar. I gave the stink eye to Heath, who was off to the side, drinking himself to death with the mercenaries. Come drink, Heath cried out. For us, there's no such thing as tomorrow. Kohaha, that's right. To our black wyvern mercenaries, there's no such thing as the future. Only today exists. To our special grade black wyverns, which will one day possess a Sky Knight, cheers. Maybe I should just report these guys for kidnapping young teens. It wasn't just me. Whenever we reached a village, the mercenaries enticed others to join them. Heath took advantage of the dream of most young men on this continent, the dream of becoming a Sky Knight, to grow his mercenary group. What nonsense are they spouting while drinking themselves away like that? Since the merchants were paying this time, Heath and the Black Wyvern small fries were all looking deeply into their mugs. Now, they were drunkenly causing a stir. But why did you ask about Sky Knights? Hamer glanced at me with a look that seemed puzzled as to why I asked about them when I already knew everything. Haha, I was just wondering how the market is these days. My magic tower also has a considerable interest towards Sky Knights. So that's why. I did hear that these days, most magic towers were fostering mages to be their exclusive Sky Knights, so that was true. What's this all about now? At my quickly spun excuse, Hamer nodded his head in understanding. Will the empires and kingdoms stand still and let the magic towers gather Sky Knights? You would know more about that, right, Sir Mage? Whether they're an empire or not, it's a simple truth that they can't mess with a large magic tower. As expected of a merchant, Hamer seemed to have noticed something from my words. I just asked out of curiosity. These days, there are many mages who think that the magic towers are being looked down on due to Sky Knights, so I simply asked once. So that's the case. There are Sky Knights who receive more preferential treatment than mages. After all, said Hamer, watching me carefully for any reaction, even as he spoke. Hey, did you hear that rumor? Which one? That in order to pick out talented people, every empire and kingdom has opened their night school and Sky Knight academies wide open this time. Does that mean civilians like us can also enroll? Yeah, the Budran Empire has always focused on ability, so I expected it from them, but I didn't know the other empires and kingdoms would allow this too. Thanks to being on the border, Chadar Marquis-Dom enjoyed a healthy nightlife. The inn Hamer had chosen was large, and even with all the mercenaries and merchants, there were around 100 other people drinking alcohol and chatting. From this crowd, I could hear an attractive line of words from the back. If things keep going on like this, won't it turn into a big matter? Why are they all scrambling to gather military power like this? This is just between us, but I hear war merchants are making a killing these days. The price of weapons and every kind of metal has jumped twofold all of a sudden. Already twofold? If I'd known this would happen, we would have switched from grain to war goods. Is something happening on the continent? From the errand merchants and other merchant groups' words, the continent's tension was palpable. It wasn't blatant just yet, but the stirring tensions were definitely an elephant in the room. Kyrnim. While I was immersed in thought and grasping my mug of beer, Merchant Hamer covertly called my name. I'm overstepping myself, but may I ask where you plan to go next? Why do you ask? I said politely. Though I was treated with great respect as a mage, it still wasn't right to speak down to an older person. If perhaps our paths converge, then if you could assist our convoy a little. They said Budran Empire had black wyverns, right? Heath had spouted a lot of bull, but it didn't seem like the stuff he said about black wyverns was wrong. And from what I heard from the merchants in the back, Budran Empire was a place that valued ability more than heritage. I am heading to the Budran Empire. All the way to Budran? Yes. Why is it bad for me to go? Hamer was unable to conceal his look of disappointment as he said, "No, that's not it. It's just that it's different from where we planned to go." Oh, that's a relief. God was helping me by delivering me a golden chance to bid this silly mercenary group farewell. I'd be an idiot to miss it. It's truly a shame. It would have been great if you could perchance come with the Aaron Merchant Group. Truly regretful. Altius, check if there's a reason for our mercenary group to go to Bajran. To think of it, the wine transportation merchant group, led by Master Looms, is departing from the country border tomorrow. Is that so? Then that's a relief. Go and quickly inform them that an outstanding mage is going with a low commission fee to Bajran. Fudge, these old guys are trying to eat me alive. A low commission fee. The gears in Hamer's head were sure turning quickly, as if he was afraid someone would accuse him of not being mercantile enough. All right, everyone, cheers to our long, continued friendship. Rising from his seat, Hamer raised his glass towards the black wyvern mercenaries and the merchants. To whatever you just said. To friendship. All the mercenaries were dead drunk. Yelling to friendship, they knocked back more beer. You guys bye-bye. It was a shame, but I couldn't keep following this dead-end mercenary group and cheap-ass merchant group. Bajran's Sky Knight Academy. Oh, ha ha ha. Wait for me. This Kang Hyuk is coming to you. Thinking about it in modern terms, it would be an elite course like the Air Force Academy. Dreaming about the glorious future ahead of me, I drank the refreshing beer. I prayed to the gods that my life would be as smooth as the Silk Road from now on, as smooth as the alcohol flowing down my throat. Chapter 18. Sky Knights of the Imperial Guard. The north sure is cold, I thought while listening to the buffeting wind. Several months had already passed since coming to Callian. Since then, it had already become winter, and because it was situated in the north, Bajran's weather was rather chilly. Who said in novels that teleport magic circles could be used in magic towers? Just let me grab a hold of whoever said that. I'll give them a perm with Fireball. Following my memories of fantasy novels I'd read in the past, I approached a magic tower in Chadar and told them I wanted to use teleport magic and asked how much it cost. Since I didn't want to be seen as someone who had never used teleport magic before, I spoke with a self-assured tone. Facing me with wide eyes was a fourth circle mage. Shortly afterwards, he suddenly got mad and summoned a fireball while yelling at me to scram. In the end, I had to quickly run away. Damn it. All right. I was doubtful while reading that too. With just that level of magic, does it make sense that spatial teleportation would really be possible? Magic-related information was all written out in my head. Among the spatial spells, warp magic was the lowest, starting at the 7th circle. Even it required a tough teleportation magic circle, where coordinates were necessary and the distance traveled was proportionate to the mana given. Knowing that, I felt momentarily defeated. I went to the magic tower, thinking maybe it was possible, but only received a face full of insults. I still made it though. Having been kicked out of the magic tower like that, I slowly traveled to the Bajran Empire on horseback. Unfortunately, my difficulties didn't end there. Because I was accosted at every territory and country border, I was eventually forced to enter a mercenary guild and receive a grade 1 mercenary badge. Thankfully, the mercenary guild didn't pry much. As soon as I showed them my blue aura blade, a grade 1 mercenary badge with my name on it was handed over to me. After that, I was able to pass through territories much more easily. And after 2 months of travel, the capital of Bajran Empire lay before my eyes. It wasn't long, but it sure was a fun trip. Using a fairly well-made map as a guide, I had ridden my horse for 2 months all the way here. I acquired recent information from merchant groups or mercenaries traveling on the same path, and despite the back-breaking labor, I gained a taste for traveling. As expected of the Empire's capital, it sure is big. The huge wall ahead of me couldn't be compared to the castles or forts that I passed on my way here. Bajran's capital was sprawled on these expansive plains, which were called the Great Northern Plains, and boasted a castle wall several tens of meters high, as tall as the eye could see. A city where 200,000 people are living. As expected of the Empire's capital city, there were a whopping 200,000 people living within. It wasn't much compared to cities in the modern world, but for the Callian continent, which hadn't yet developed science and technology, the number of people here was immense. Moreover, my jaw had dropped upon hearing that among the thousands of Empire residents, 80,000 of them alone were soldiers. Most kingdoms have around 200 Sky Knights. I heard empires have between 300 to 500 of them. The info I had prioritized the most was about Sky Knights. It was necessary in order to realize the beautiful future I dreamed of. The fighting force of knights, mages, and soldiers was also important, but on this continent, Sky Knight numbers determined a country's strength. I wonder what will bring me happiness here. Shall we go in? I wanted to live not pressed to the ground, but high and mighty, like Master on earth. If it was my fate to be here, then it was only smart to seek the things that brought me joy. Naldo, run, hiya. With a loud whinny that I had heard plenty of times during our 2 months together, Ronaldo galloped forward with liveliness, as if he understood my words. Accompanied by the sound of Ronaldo's hoofbeats, my horse blew out white condensation while galloping on. Like the saying that all paths lead to Rome, I followed the Empire's long government-managed road and ran towards Vaisha capital. In my heart nestled a great dream. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Yuwa. I was so impressed that an exclamation burst from my lips. What's all this? This is so bomb, it's killer. According to the information I gathered, the first founding emperor, Alvatrian, was originally a commoner. After acquiring a black wyvern through a stroke of luck, he surpassed the nobles and formed the empire during the continent's period of turmoil. Because of that, unlike other empires or kingdoms, Bajran Empire placed more importance on one's ability. I was told the Sky Knight Academy examination starts tomorrow and lasts for just 15 days. This was the reason why I didn't let myself get distracted and only gathered information while running nonstop to Bajran. The special entrance examination for the Sky Knight Academy was open to commoners as well. As long as you had the skill, you could become a knight. That was the kind of place Bajran was. Recruiting talented people is probably what allowed them to get a foothold and thrive on this continent. After showing my mercenary badge, I was allowed to pass through the thick, 15-meter-high wall, and the capital's scenery entered my eyes. At a glance, I could see countless carriages and people traveling through the castle wall. Just like how Django District would be packed with foot traffic on the weekend, an incredible number of people were walking to and fro here. As I thought, it's nice to be in a big pond. The scale and crowds here couldn't be compared to the territories I had passed until now. On top of that, there were countless antique-looking stone buildings laid out in front of me. It was exactly the fantasy world I had yearned for. Let's go get some money first. After all, first impressions make the man. The money in my pocket was more than enough for my travels. However, the path I was going to walk now was an elite course that would lead to knighthood. With that in mind, I wanted to keep an adequate amount on hand. Excuse me, are you perhaps looking for a place to stay? The moment I decided to ask someone about where I could find a Rubis Merchant Group store, a faint voice called out to me from down low. Is it a touter? Tien. A touter is someone who tries to draw in customers. The voice belonged to a young boy who looked just about 12 years old, but his attire was clean and his eyes were shining. The others don't even bother. This kid still had traces of baby fat on his face. Bigger boys were targeting merchants or people who had just entered the castle, but this small kiddo, having been forcefully pushed aside, was shyly talking to me. Do you know where I can get the most delicious food and comfortable sleeping quarters? Yes. I know all the inns in the capital with the most delicious food and cozy lodgings. May I guide you around? Just take a look at this kid. He's cute. He was young, but in order to eat and live, this kid undoubtedly had no choice but to jump into the front lines of working life. Unlike the other kids who were busy attracting customers, his manner of speech was rather dignified. I'll leave it to you. Thank you very much. As soon as I gave permission, the kiddo took Ronaldo's reins. I couldn't help but feel sad and proud at the same time. What's your name? Hihi. My name is Alex. Alex. Do you happen to know the Rubis Merchants? The Rubis Merchants? Of course. The Rubis Merchants have the biggest building on Merchant Street. Is it close by? Yes. To the right of that street, there is Merchant Street. Shall I guide you there? Please do so, Alex. As young as he was, his bravery was limitless. He was heaven and hell apart from the cheeky brat in Luna Village, Darren. I wonder how Hans and Cecil are doing. I had left things to Jameer, but I was still a bit worried. Since I kicked his ass, it was possible that the Lord could bear a grudge and target the village. I dare you to touch Luna Village. I'll beat you to a pulp if you do. To me, Luna Village was like my homeland. There was no way I couldn't be concerned. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. We're here. Here is the Rubis Merchant Group branch, informed Alex gallantly. Oh, seems to be a pretty successful conglomerate. This street was as fancy as Myeongdong Street and packed with countless storefronts. Rubis Branch's stone building dominated the others on the street, with 5 floors. With a satisfied smile, I dismounted from my horse. Alex, I'll be back, so wait here a bit. Yes, please do not worry. Little kid. At his cute and brave appearance, I patted his head once and walked towards the building. How may I help you? We do not sell wares here. Though we were in the securely policed Empire capital, 2 people with swords were guarding the entrance. I've come to collect my money. At the mention of money, the 2 guards looked me up and down. Are you joking right now? What do you think this? Having just completed my long journey, I was still clothed in a thick traveler's robe and dusty from the road. In their position, I also wouldn't allow someone who looked like me into the building. However, I had something they couldn't possibly ignore, a token that certified my identity, given to me by Jameer. A supervisor token. Welcome. While the person who had blocked me was frozen in shock, the other guard quickly lowered his head. I can come in now, yes? I'm truly sorry. Please come inside, said the guard with a humbled expression while opening the door. Do your best, will you? Don't just judge based on outer appearance. TSK, TSK. You understood. Passing the guards who were nodding like bobbleheads, I straightened my shoulders and walked in. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Special guest? Jameer's got a good pair of eyes. When I held out the token given by Jameer after entering the Rubus Merchant Group building, someone who was the top dog here came out and bowed his head to me. I didn't know what had happened in just a few months, but apparently, Jameer had jumped from one of the 12 supervisors to one of just 3 executives. The token representing Jameer had an impressive effect. The 10,000 gold I was supposed to receive somehow multiplied to several hundred thousand due to interest, and thanks to Executive Merchant Jameer's fame, I received special treatment reserved for high-ranking nobility at every Rubus store. I heard all of this from the manager, who offered me a cup of hot tea with a congenial smile. So they're saying I've got a 20% discount on all items sold by the Rubus Merchant Group. I can even take a credit loan of 100,000 gold. The large-scale merchant groups operated similarly to the banks in the 21st century. My mood grew cheerful upon receiving Jameer's extreme favor. Keep it up. I'll be your driving force in the future. There was no need to withdraw too much, so I only took out 1,000 gold. Though our deal had been in Dapus Kingdom currency, the same amount applied here in the Empire, probably because gold coins were minted with gold metal. While on Merchant Street, I purchased and put on a set of clothes that were currently trendy, a white medieval tunic and a black leather mantle suitable for the winter weather. The comfort level fell a bit short of modern standards, but perhaps because it was made with natural materials, the fabric felt amazing to the touch. Here is Elmar's Rest House, which I highly recommend. It is one of the top-level accommodations in the city. Even nobles who wish to rest frequently come here, said Alex while guiding me. Yup, this looks about right. In front of me was a large 5-story building. Adorning its entrance was a golden sign with the words Elmar's Rest House. It was obvious at a single glance that this was a luxury inn. Welcome. As I stopped my horse in front of the building, 2 neatly clothed employees who were watching the entrance came over and bowed their heads. Alex, thanks for the trouble. No trouble at all. Hee hee. Thanks to you, cool Mr. Knight. I was able to earn enough food for the whole day. Thank you very much. With the grace of the goddess of blessings, Semire, may peace be upon you. Brat. Despite his age, Alex showed a dignified and cool appearance. Go to the kitchen in the back. Yes. The employees looked at Alex with piercing eyes that clearly said he should make himself scarce. It seemed that if he brought customers like me over to the inn, he would be given food. Wait a moment, Alex. You still haven't received your commission. Commission? About to turn around, Alex looked quizzically at my face. Ting! I grasped 1 gold from my breast pocket and threw it towards Alex. Alex caught the coin by reflex. Holy, is this? Rather than showing gratefulness, the blood drained from Alex's face. It's gold. Not just Alex, but the employees also looked shocked. In the future, live just as you're doing now. If you do so, the future you dream of will open up. I saw my past self in him, so I gave Alex a few words of encouragement. Thank you so much. Holding the gold carefully with both hands, Alex bowed low with a trembling body. It was only a small amount to me, but it was most certainly an amount Alex had never seen in his life. I firmly believed that even if he received a large amount, Alex wouldn't waste it carelessly. That's right, money should be used like this. There was an ancient saying, one makes money like a dog and spends it like a minister. I dismounted from my horse and walked towards the inn. And may I ask your name? Please tell me. Alex beseeched, his voice full of tears. Kyr. My name is Kyre. Kyre. Alex repeated my name quietly, as if to engrave it in his heart. While patting the kiddo's soft hair, I walked into the inn. Now, I wanted to rest quietly. It had been fun, but traveling was a tiring business. Feels great. I wash my body with clear magic every morning, so there wasn't any dirt, but the feeling of submerging my body in hot water was truly a pleasure. Is it because magic has developed? I rented a top suite that cost 3 gold per day. Then I went into a tub that seemed to be crafted out of marble and let my fatigue be washed away. Reclining in the tub, I looked at my room. The room was huge, almost as big as the 150 square 1,600 square feet, apartment I'd lived in on Earth. A plushy, clean, wide bed occupied the room, along with antique-style furniture that my mother would surely like. All in all, it was as nice as the luxury suite my parents had booked for their wedding anniversary. La 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 la. As I lay in the spacious tub, I began to hum involuntarily. I closed my eyes and let myself be submerged in my thoughts. The Sky Knight selection exam. Ho-ho, it feels like I'm taking a school test. My thoughts drifted to the Sky Knight selections that were starting tomorrow. That I would pass was a sure thing, but pre-test nerves tingled through my body. Suddenly, I heard someone knocking at the door. Who is it? Who's there? I was so comfy, though. I wanted to enjoy this sensation of utter relaxation longer, but I was startled awake by the sound of knocking. It is the manager. I recalled a birthmarked face belonging to a man rubbing his hands and smiling ingratiatingly at me as soon as I walked in. Is there a problem? That is, dear guest, I am very sorry, but would it be possible to exchange rooms? My room? Is this old dude crazy? I refuse, I said, closing my eyes while soaking in the tub. From my door came the manager's low voice. Dear guest, I beg you, your stay will be free of charge, so please move to another room. His voice was full of urgency. I said, I refuse. Dear guest, it's not just me that will get hurt, but you might get hurt too. There are nobles who wish to rest in our top suite. Please switch to a different room. I beg of you. Noble? I've run into some nasty scum. The hell is going on? Has a room not been cleared yet? The young master said he wanted the room. So why haven't you cleared it yet? Oh gods, please spare me, Sir Knights. While I was filled with ominous feelings regarding nobles, a very harmonious conversation was going on outside the door. Bam! Act! As the conversation went on, I heard proof that physical action had been taken. Another heavy thump sounded in the hallway. Oi, who the hell is in there? If we say to take the room, then it will be taken. Say what? Get a load of these guys. I only wanted to prime myself with a good mood for the exam ahead, but what greeted my eyes next were 2 knights with blue mantles atop thick magic plate armor. The knights roughly opened the door and rushed in. These rude little bastards. The 2 knights opened the door without my permission and came in without compunction. How bold! How dare you refuse when a noble wishes to use this room? This is your last warning. Put on your clothes and scram. The 2 knights spat out arrogant words. Anyone who is human would definitely furrow their brows in my situation. But I done wanna... What, you don't want... Cuckoo, this guy dares to disdain a knight. He's a crazy guy who wants to die. These 2 knights showed rude expressions. Looks like he's someone who will only come to his senses if he is dragged out like a dog. For a damn commoner to dare. The 2 approached me while wearing armor covered in dust. My mood hit a new low. If you come one step closer, I won't take responsibility. With enrollment at the Sky Knight Academy ahead of me, I didn't want to cause a ruckus, but these guys really weren't cutting me a break. Puahaha. Responsibility. This little brat. How dare he? Ignoring my warning, they approached with heavy footsteps. I raised my submerged hand and lifted it out of the tub. Lightning. I called out, quick casting 3rd circle magic. BZZZZZZZT. Kayak. AF. The 2 men who had been approaching me with nasty smiles were engulfed in sparks, making them cry out in pain. Maybe their armor was cheap? Shortly afterwards, their bodies emanated dense smoke, and they collapsed bonelessly to the bare ground, thumping loudly. Shit, which frickin' brat is it? The problem was, of course, not the hunting dogs, but the person who had set the hunting dogs loose. I rose from the water, dripping. The wind blowing in from the north made my body shiver as all my hairs stood on end. You're all dead. Noble or whatever, what I needed right now was to blow off my rage towards the person who had broken my tranquil peace. I ground my teeth as I put on my clothes. I really wanted to see what kind of expression the noble who destroyed my mood was wearing. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. Ho ho, it is truly a relief. If I hadn't met you, Alfonso Nim, I wouldn't have been able to get the room. Haha. Well, I didn't do anything. Even if I wasn't around, your knights would have saved you, Miss Luciella. Rumor has it that the heir of Lyfon Viscounty is a noble faithful to the code of chivalry, and it seems to be true. In the name of the Timon barony, allow me to express my thanks once again. I left the room, passing the unconscious knights and the limp and manager, and came down to the dining area on the ground floor. There, I heard a blushing conversation between two nobles. They sure are having fun. Receiving an escort of around 10 knights, two people who looked like nobles were busy flattering each other. It's quite embarrassing. I can only express my thanks to His Most Sagacious Royal Majesty and the God of Fate, Romero, for allowing our paths to cross and for enabling me to take part in the Sky Knight selection exam. Ho ho, I must also thank His Royal Majesty and the Goddess of Blessings, Semire, for this honorable meeting, where I can meet you again, Alfonso Nim. Gruus, I suddenly have goosebumps all over. While still on the stairs, the things I heard and saw gave me gooseflesh. I was also someone who could say greasy things with a straight face, but these guys were on a different level. It was as bad as Charles Ponzi, the famous scammer, and Henry S. Kissinger, a world-class sycophant. But it's strange, the knights haven't come down yet. I would like to rest after traveling such a long distance. The speaker was a woman wearing a white mage robe rather than a dress normally worn by women here. Her face was pretty good-looking, but her sharply slanted eyes gave her the impression that she was a fox about to catch and eat up her prey. Sir Pete, why aren't the knights coming down? As the female mage wrinkled her brow, the man next to her scolded one of the knights standing nearby. They looked exactly like a match made in heaven. Two stereotypically shitty nobles who would do something like this to an innocent bystander. I shall go see what is going on. Because the top suite of this inn was on the 5th floor, nobody here had heard the pained cries of the knights I had knocked out. The knight, in his early 40s, named Pete, briskly nodded and turned around to face the stairs. At that moment, his eyes met mine, which were looking on from the stairs. A natural smile appeared on my lips. Puzzled by my smile, a doubtful look appeared in Pete's eyes. Huh, who are the kind folks looking for me? Where's the owner of the crazy knights who didn't receive proper knight education and barged into the room of a person enjoying their bath? I called out very loudly with a bright laugh. As soon as my words fell, the sound of swords being unsheathed rang throughout the dining hall. At least they weren't completely stupid. My sarcasm didn't fall on deaf ears. Who are you? Where are my knights? Said Alfonso, his face red with anger as he leapt from his seat. It was clear that the master himself hadn't received a proper education, either. Damn you. I'll get my revenge today. Tomorrow's events are a problem for tomorrow. Today, I really wanted to make these guys responsible for completely ruining my mood. The knights? Those guys are nicely laid out and going to the gates of hell and back. Would you also like to go? I made a nasty smile and gently provoked him. A person who had disturbed my first taste of relaxation in 2 months without good reason was bound to become my eternal enemy. You dare to speak down to a noble. You're asking for death, cried out Pete, scolding me with his eyes. Speaking down my ass. Would you like it if you were taking a nice bath and then someone barging on you to steal your room? Would you like it if you were dipping your bread in some soup to enjoy and someone blew their nose right on it? All my accumulated resentment towards the behavior of the nobles and knights up until now was about to blow. I also directed my words towards the smattering of other people in the dinery who were snickering and watching my reasonable rage with curiosity. Naturally, that is a noble's right. How dare you, a mere commoner, interfere with matters of nobles who are protected by imperial law? It seems you will only admit your wrongs after seeing your own blood. These nobles really didn't see their own faults. This isn't the only night school around. If a man is truly angered, he needs to vent it somehow. The Bajran Empire wasn't the only place with a Sky Knight Academy. With my skills, there were countless kingdoms that would beg me to come to them while holding my coattails. I was determined to give these people an unforgettable taste of my 21st century commoner fist. You're right. You sure are talking out of an ogre's ass. Do you eat 5 times a day and poop 3 times? A noble who only says flattering words all day, my ass. Get a taste today of this low-born commoner's fist. Wheeing, I activated my 5th circle mana. Then I unsheathed my thick sword. Attack. Slice that bastard's head off. And my bombardment of insults Alfonso, whose face had become ashen blue, commanded his knights to murder me. Kill him. As angry as Alfonso himself, the knights threw Aura Blade onto their swords. Their mana was as feeble as a writhing earthworm. You're all dead. For people who mess with me first, mercy wasn't a term in my books. This was self-defense. Not only that, but I was raising my fist sword of love in order to educate them on good character. I threw my shoulders back and broke out in laughter. Wahaha! Today, I shall teach you all that the world is a scary place, you shitty orc goonies. I was someone who only feared my parents. These people dare to anger such a person. I could only give them my hot rage in return. Pete's sword came flying towards my stomach. Oh. The bystanders cried out in fear. You dare. I gathered mana and cut down on the sword that was coming from below. The swords clashed, causing a clear clang to ring out. Then I raised my right foot and horse-kicked the dude named Pete. Taking my powerful kick to his face, the lump of armor went flying about 3 meters and hit the ground hard. He wasn't even able to cry out as he lost consciousness because my foot had connected with his mouth. That bastard. What are you doing? Hurry and kill him, cursed Alfonso. Oh, burning rage of fire, light blazing in the darkness. While the knights were hesitating, the woman wearing mage robes began casting a fireball. Vicious woman. In order to kill a single person, this evil woman was unleashing a spell that could turn the whole building into a sea of flames. With a crunch, I tore off the railing of the stairs. Shut your damn mouth. And then, I simply threw the wood at the woman who was completely focused on her spell activation. Bam! Yeah. She took a hit to her lower abdomen and sank to the ground. The mana she had been gathering dissipated like smoke with a hiss. To injure a noble's body. Hurry and kill him. I said kill him. Have I stepped past the line of no return? Cuckoo. Alfonso was stomping while browbeating his knights. Kill him. The knights rushed towards the narrow stairs. Oop! Facing the knights who were rushing in, I put mana into the blunt of my sword, not the blade. Then, I held it like a baseball bat and crashed it into the knight at the very front. It was only the blunt side of my sword hitting his metal armor, but there was the sound of ripping leather. Then, I struck the ground hard, sending a powerful wave of force to the 5 or 6 knights clumped together. You won't die, you guys. For better or for worse, I didn't want to go as far as to commit murder. Therefore, I controlled my strength to the appropriate level, which allowed the force to be dispersed through their armor. Why, you bastard? Have you no fear, Empire law? Left with only a few knights, Alfonso spoke a few words that exposed his fear. He appeared to have lost all his bluster. Let's take care of this real, fast, and skedaddle. I wasn't stupid, so I knew beating up nobles and knights in the Empire capital would soon send Capitol Police running over. I approached the worst one of them all, the man named Alfonso. You need to take a hit or two. Staring at the man's trembling eyes, I stalked forward. Every time I took a step forward, he took a hesitant step back. Holding their swords, his knights stood before their master, blocking my path. Smiling evilly, I raised my sword. Then I gathered mana into a blue aura blade that shone brilliantly. Aura Blade Knight. The knights finally discerned my level. Oop! Grunting, I swung my sword and flung the trembling knights aside left and right. Halt! At that moment, a short command suddenly entered my ears. With a tingle, I felt an energy as sharp as a blade from behind me. Whoa! Whirling around, I saw some very astonishing people. The first person I saw was wearing a mantle as red as blood. The second person had on a black muffler around their neck. And the last person was equipping a unique silver armor under a red mantle. Sky Knight. From someone's mouth came the word Sky Knight. Holy! Even I was surprised. The 3 people who entered the inn gave off an intense air of nobility. They were Sky Knights. Among them, the one at the front had incredible silver hair that contrasted with her red mantle, and she was biting her long, plump lips with a troubled look as she stared at me. Female Sky Knight. Surprisingly enough, despite having told me to halt, this person was a female Sky Knight who made my heart thump wildly the moment I saw her. SK Sky Knights of the Empire Royal Guard, someone whispered in a fit. The heck? You're telling me these are the masters of legendary black wyverns? Chapter 19. Apostle of the Skies, Countess Irene. Anyone who moves without permission from this point onwards will be terminated, quietly warned a man with indigo blue hair. He was standing behind the woman on her right side, his hand resting lightly on the sword at his hip. In a single breath, Vim became silent as a mouse. A single sentence from the Sky Knight brought total peace to the battlefield. The pressure is insane. These weren't just regular Sky Knights, but the masters of the continent's strongest black wyverns. They were Sky Knights of the Bajran Imperial Guard. Why? We came to drink some beer after a training. You guys are causing a fuss within the capital without any fear? And you're all so young, too. What are you saying so crudely? I am the heir who will be the next lord of Lyphon Viscounty. At the cynical words of the man on the woman's left, Alfonso forcefully played his heir card. So what? Retorted the strawberry blonde man. His gaze was as if he were looking at a neighborhood mutt. Ooh, he knows how to handle people. With just a smattering of words, the man made Alfonso's face go beet red. It was pretty cool. What do you mean, so what? I'm an aristocrat of heritage. Even if you're a knight of the Imperial Guard, I'm not someone you can treat lightly, said Alfonso, emphasizing the word aristocrat. Ha ha ha. Well, aren't you droll? The man drawled, looking at Alfonso mockingly. Did you think this was the backwards territory where you play king? Heir? A mere heir who hasn't yet received a noble peerage dares to bear his blade in the capital? You didn't know that the Imperial Knights can kill you without trial for drawing your blade and committing violent acts or murder, did you? He was really so dynamic that I wanted to chat about life with him over a beer. Knight Rodolo, stop. As you command. At the fairy-like woman with silver hair's command, the man named Rodolo smartly came to attention and shut his mouth. Wow, I thought in utter admiration. Though she was an absolutely stunning woman exuding innocence and looking as weak as a bug, the aura she was emanating was no joke. Did you say your name was Alfonso? Huh, aye. Indeed, replied Alfonso cautiously, his face having gone white after hearing Rothello's threat. Even a brick would know that the woman standing before us held a remarkable status. I am Countess Irene, Sky Knight of the Imperial Guard. Apostle of the Skies, Countess Irene. From somebody's mouth came a surprised exclamation. Apostle of the Skies? It really suits her. The woman named Irene gave off such a strong air of purity that I could believe it if someone told me she was a priestess. It wouldn't be unfair to call this woman wearing a red mantle a goddess. If you are an heir of nobility, then you should know this much. The rule in all places that fall under His Imperial Majesty's jurisdiction is that imperial law takes precedence over the common law managed by nobles. And this is the capital, where the emperor and the imperial family reside. No matter who it is, anyone who disdains His Imperial Majesty or the imperial family will die by my hands. For I am a Sky Knight of the great Bajran Empire's Imperial Guard, a Sky Knight who lives by the Emperor's command, even if that person is a noble. Each and every word from Countess Irene was quiet but firm. So cool. I couldn't help but cheer inside. Now speak. Why have you taken arms and fought on the sacred land of His Imperial Majesty? Maybe. I'm looking forward to it. I began to hope that she could show impartiality and be on my side. That is that man. Crushed by Irene's sharp aura, Alfonso started his stumbling testimony. He really didn't seem to be able to come up with any excuses. With his aristocrat heir position, he was a man who had lived his whole life with a silver spoon in his mouth. There was no way he could give a valid reason. I am Luciella of Barony Timon. I am so very grateful for this opportunity to see the sword and shield guarding the Empire, the Imperial Guard Sky Knights. The cheap bitch who started the whole incident bowed slightly and wagged her foxtail. You seem to be a mage. Are you a Sky Knight applicant? Yes, Countess Irene, said the evil woman, smiling wide at Irene's interest. You may report if you know about this incident. Only, you must take responsibility for it. Of course. How could I possibly lie to people of such nobility? Even as a noble herself, Luciella was careful with her words in front of the Sky Knights. It was a scene that revealed the status of the capital's Imperial Guard Sky Knights. To be honest, my fault in the matter is quite large. For the sake of the Sky Knight selection exam, starting tomorrow, I departed from my territory early, but we were attacked on the way to the capital and delayed for a moment. In my moment of crisis, the heir of the Lyphon Viscount family, Alfonso Nim, and his attending knights appeared and slayed the monsters, allowing me to safely arrive in the capital. However, my poor luck continued, and I was unable to find luxury accommodations suitable for a person of noble heritage. It was then that we found this place. I'm dumbfounded. This fox, Luciella, began telling lies from the very beginning, not even stopping to breathe. I had definitely heard her say that she was able to acquire a room thanks to meeting Alfonso, but somehow, the cheap-ass Alfonso was painted as a dashing knight she met much earlier today. As soon as we entered this inn with our tired bodies, I requested the top suite, in accordance with the teaching that states that nobles should always seek the very best formalities that suit their status. However, someone was already occupying the top suite, and we, being in a tight spot, asked the person to yield the room to us. But that ignorant commoner put faith in his abilities and sowed discord. So to uphold our noble honor, we were forced to draw swords. And so, the situation became like this. Does she want to be some kind of author in the future? Anyone who heard this without knowing the truth would believe it. That's how sincere Luciella appeared as she spouted her 100% fantasy. Even I was immersed in her story. Please allow me to once again apologize for drawing our swords and causing a fuss in the capital. However, according to common law, if a noble incurs an affront, one is permitted to draw one's swords for the sake of one's honor, no matter who or what the other party is. Alfonso Nim and his attending knights simply did their utmost in order to preserve their noble's honor. Her viciousness was deeply rooted in her words. I didn't know where she received her education, but this evil woman, Luciella, was spitting out lies with great fluency. I made sure to engrave her face into my memory. The next time we meet, know you're dead meat. Shit. I locked my deep resentment towards her in my long-term memory. Noble's honor, you say? Is what she says the truth? Countess Irene turned to me, her thoughts indiscernible. The sight of her lively, beautiful eyes put a light smile on my face. Haha, those words of hers. I would rather believe that an orc prefers to eat grass over meat, I said, adapting the phrase to Callian standards. So you're saying it's a lie, right? Do you have a way to prove your words? Countess Irene was rather rational. Her intelligent and mysterious appearance warmed my heart. I wonder, I am telling the truth, but who here would take my side over the nobles and corroborate me? Even I wouldn't do so. By taking the nobles' side, you wouldn't be living in moral wealth and prosperity, but at least you would preserve your life. Are you also a Sky Knight applicant? Asked Countess Irene, suddenly changing the subject. I am. Because I heard that the Budran Empire values one's ability over exterior appearances, I came to offer my support. Offer your support? As if shocked by my speech and behavior, which were shaped by a world where even the president could be cursed at, Countess Irene's eyes widened slightly as she repeated my words. I couldn't help but think that her slightly furrowed brows were cute. But now, I'm really thinking about changing my mind. Seriously, what kind of person barges into the room of someone taking a bath in broad daylight? The law is there to protect, not to tyrannize, right? Just because they are nobles, they committed the crime of trespassing, they verbally assaulted me, and even gave in order to have me killed. How can I believe that such a place is one that truly upholds the law? To think that the imperial city, where His Imperial Majesty of the Great Budran Empire resides, is a lawless area. I put great emphasis on His Imperial Majesty and lawless area. Why, you... At my words, Alfonso and Luciella's faces became frighteningly pale. They obviously didn't expect me to speak out like this. You shitheads, a commoner has his own way of fighting. Huh, how dare you? How could I, someone who received higher education in the 21st century, be the same as these subdued commoners? I straightened my shoulders and looked at Irene's blue eyes with a confident expression. Silver hair with pale blue eyes. She's totally my type. Even I had to admit that my ideal type was a fickle creature. But what can you do? I was a free spirit that wasn't tied to anyone yet. Can you take responsibility for your words just now? A man's words are as heavy as gold. How could I spew a mouthful of lies like a certain someone else? Ho ho, you are an interesting young man. For the first time, Irene showed off a set of white teeth as she laughed. The mere sight of it refreshed my mood. He's lying. Don't believe his words. Sensing that the mood was turning strange, Alfonso screamed with panic. You dense brick. You panic, you lose. Cuckoo. Irene looked as if she had made her judgment. Alfonso and Lady Luciella. Irene's clear voice rang out quietly in the inn. Yes, spoke the wolf and fox, their eyes carefully scanning Irene's. Do you wish to pursue the truth of this matter by interrogating these people here? Said Irene, her finger pointing towards the people watching on in curiosity. In an instant, the two were trapped in a pot of sticky honey. Looks like all three of you seek to pass the Sky Knight selections. Instead of entrusting the judgment of this quarrel to me, Prove your innocence by passing the exam with your skills. Smart to boot. She is perfection. Perfection. Even if I were telling the truth, a noble was a noble. Even a Sky Knight of the Imperial Guard couldn't just do whatever to a noble. In such a situation, Irene stated that we should prove our innocence ourselves. She enlightened my eyes once again. You understood. We will do it like that. I will definitely become a Sky Knight. The matter today. A clear threat hung at the end of Alfonso's words. He cast his eyes full of hatred towards me. Unlike Alfonso, who was showing his hatred like a kid while stuttering, Luciella was looking at Irene with slightly more spiteful eyes. I will never forget you, Countess Irene, Apostle of the Skies, for as long as I live. Then goodbye. Let's go. As you command. Oi, friends. Are you forgetting something? Friends? Arg. A ravine appeared on Alfonso's forehead at my flippancy. Shouldn't you collect the hunting dog in my room? And seriously, put some better armor on them. How can so-called knights, who are venerated throughout the territory, be wearing such crap? Even a free knight would have something better. They're no beggars. TSK. I didn't bother worrying about something I'd already said. It didn't seem like the Sky Knights would stop me. I nonchalantly spoke to Alfonso as if preaching to a kid. Instead of a reply, Alfonso ground his teeth loudly together. You watch out, until all your teeth are knocked out. This place didn't even have a dentist. If all your teeth were knocked out, you'd have to live with a stupid face for the rest of eternity. After Alfonso signaled a few knights with his eyes, they went up, and after a while, they brought the still electrified squids with them and left. Pahaha, my friend, aren't you something? You're not even a noble, and you go up to bat without any fear. After the idiot squad disappeared, the knight named Rothalo burst out with a vigorous laugh. If you've got no skills, you'll have to take responsibility for your own actions. Cuckoo, you've really got guts. You should be grateful. If you hadn't met our flight leader today, who doesn't discriminate due to one's origins, your life would have been over today. Giving me some advice, Rothalo made a cutting motion at his neck. Her face looks great and her figure looks great, and she's got a great personality despite being a countess. She's smart. Wah, is there anyone alive with better conditions than her? The only issue was that there was probably a big age gap between us. She looked at least 25, but even so, her skin was as fair as a baby's. If it doesn't inconvenience you, my lady, I would like to buy you dinner. Is that all right with you? Truly a fearless person. You dare to ask for a meal with a noble of the empire, and a countess at that. Do you have a death wish? The indigo-haired man who had uttered the threat of termination at the beginning sent waves of bloodthirst towards me. What's with him? It was true I was a commoner, but I had offered the meal with the greatest politeness I could muster. But the sharp-chinned man who looked to be in his late 20s was now emitting bloodthirst. Stop, it's fine. Knight Rothalo, it's a shame, but I will honor your request next time. Oh well, it can't be helped. It's my fault for suddenly offering to buy a high-ranking noble some beer. Isn't that right, Sir Adolf? Knight Rothalo, don't speak my name carelessly. If you don't want to receive a dual request. Would you look at that? Their relationship isn't so good. The man named Adolf quickly switched his target from me to Rothalo. It seemed he had some kind of relationship with Irene, the flight leader. Rothalo, right? I will return the favor I received today, back tenfold. I like this Rothalo fellow at first sight. He gave me the strong impression that he was someone with a spirit as free as my own. Oh, surely you jest. How could I, a lowly person with commoner origins, dare to take a blade from Sir Adolf, a noble from the great Polaron family? If I have offended you, please forgive me with a big heart. Though his words were technically polite, it came off as a provocation. Cold energy flew from Adolf's eyes. Ah, so he's got commoner roots too. Rothalo looked to be in his mid-20s. Even though I didn't know how he managed to become a Sky Knight of the Imperial Guard, his eloquence was certainly something to admire. What are you two doing? Did you forget that there are public eyes here? Hissed Irene, exuding a displeased air. Considering that even her frowning face was beautiful, it was true that a beauty really is something else. What is your name? Asked Irene with an inscrutable expression. I'm called Kyre. This was the second time today that I gave out my name. Kyre, you say. Irene rolled my name around in her mouth. I will see for myself if your skills are as outstanding as your mouth. I will definitely be accepted, Lady Irene. Besides the Sky Knights, the events of today had seriously touched my pride. Like Irene said, I was going to pass, no matter what, with skills alone. Young man, do your best. If you pass, I'll buy you a drink. Rothello's eyes crinkled into a smile as he encouraged me. Then, the 3 Sky Knights turned around, opened the door, and left like a mirage in the desert. So this is an Imperial Guard Sky Knight. These were the best Sky Knights with the best wyverns on the continent. A flame was lit inside my chest, and then a light smile rose to my lips. Chapter 20. Enrolling in Knight Academy. Wow! Vajran Empire's capital city was no inferior than metropolises in the 21st century. After filling up my stomach in the inn with a good mood, I asked someone for directions and approached the Knight Academy building where the Sky Knight selections were being held. Right? A city should be at least this level. This was a huge city, just without any skyscrapers. The stone buildings looked to be at most 5 floors tall. Statues that looked as if they could have been crafted by Auguste Rodin adorned building exteriors. If we were in the 21st century, such sculptures would have surely netted a huge sum of money. The city is clean and the air is fresh. Kia, I want it. The capital city of Vajran was awesome enough to make me want one just like it. Most of the people coming and going had bright expressions, and the streets were clean, as if they were periodically cleaned. On top of that, there were squads of dozens of soldiers patrolling and keeping the peace. This is probably the work of magic. Size wasn't all that there was to a metropolis. From disposal of domestic waste to water and other necessary utilities, this city had all sorts of perfect functions. As soon as my thoughts turned to city management, several spell formulas came springing to mind. What the hell did Master shove into my brain? Master's freakish actions couldn't be understood. All I knew was that all the things in my brain were Master's creations. There aren't any preservatives, right? Master was fearless enough to use made-in-China products left and right in his magic circles. The knowledge engraved in my brain was indeed useful, but I couldn't stop imagining myself falling over while vomiting blood during a spellcast. Is it Imperial Palace territory from here onwards? The Sky Knight selection exam was taking place in the huge inner palace within the outer castle walls. From what I heard, this large castle was once again partitioned into a proper imperial palace occupied by the emperor. It's bigger than any of the castles I passed on the way here. Though it was classified as an inner palace, the stone building before my eyes could very well be called its own castle. It's well equipped. The information I had received that there were several thousand soldiers patrolling the imperial city, but many thousand more within the fortress itself. There were hundreds, no, thousands of soldiers wearing spotless black breastplates and helmets that gleamed in the sun. These soldiers stood like mannequins on the castle wall, standing guard with utter seriousness. You could feel the emperor's authority just by looking at them. Their red mantles, which signified that they were imperial soldiers in charge of the capital, flapped in the wind. Looks like those guys are the Imperial Guard Knights. I saw 5 knights wearing attire that sharply distinguished them from regular soldiers. Crimson breastplates with sparkling golden pauldrons. The powerful aura coming from their bodies told me they were knights of the Imperial Royal Guard. Halt! As I came to the gate of the inner palace, the knight warily watching my approach called out. Then 2 soldiers holding silver halberds blocked my path with well-practiced movements. They looked so cool. "Where are you going?" asked the Imperial Guard Knight, his eyes filled with suspicion towards me, a person who was approaching on foot without the escort of knights. "Huh, thank you for your hard work. I may not be a noble, but I wasn't one to get discouraged by their wary treatment." At my confident demeanor, the knight and soldiers pierced me with their gazes, their eyes asking how there could be such a shameless guy. May I ask what the Sky Knight Academy enrollment selections are? Even while saying that, I was thinking if I mess up, I could be turned into a pincushion without even being able to take the exam. Before I knew it, 100 archers had drawn their bows atop the castle walls. As expected of the imperial palace where the emperor resided, it seemed they didn't allow any nonsense here. While I was facing such guardedness, a carriage escorted by a dozen knights came running towards us. The horses whinnied as the carriage came to a stop in front of the gate. "The esteemed Lady Hyneth from the Petron Count family is here. She has come to take the Sky Knight Academy entrance exam," called out a knight at the front with a disciplined appearance. Understood. However, remember this. Calling His Imperial Majesty's name within the inner castle is forbidden, and anyone who isn't a titled noble must dismount from their carriage or horse. Though if it is an inconvenience, please dismount from the carriage. Unlike when he addressed me, this time, Imperial Knight spoke with courtesy. "Arg, nobles be damned. I once again experienced the sadness of not having a peerage. Sir Assis, please open the door." From From within the carriage came a voice as fine as jade. As you command. The knight named Aussies dismounted from his horse and carefully opened the white, four-horse carriage door. Oh ho! I was happy. After all, the sudden voice was as sweet as a nightingale's chirp and clearly belonged to a woman. Then, a woman's silhouette slowly became visible. Gods above. God was playing tricks on me to keep making me a lustful man. Maybe because this land wasn't polluted, or because the people here were pure, but most of the ladies here were very fine. It wasn't enough to put celebrities on earth to shame, but they certainly were eye-candy level. And among these ladies, there were a few that truly stood out. She's so cute. The girl was so cute and petite that I would have believed it if she was a character from shoujo manga. Wearing a pink dress, her long, golden hair was tied into twin tails. She was about 160 centimeters tall, 5.2 feet. She looked to be 1 or 2 years younger than me. Within her large eyes were written the words, "I'm so very innocent," and her skin was milky white. She totally looked like a shoujo manga heroine. "Welcome, Lady Hyneth." The Imperial Knight gave a quick nod to the girl who emerged. "It is my honor to meet the Imperial Knights guarding the Empire and Imperial City," said the girl named Hyneth, curtsying lightly while holding the hem of her dress. "Please come inside. The soldiers will escort you to the Knight Academy." The inner castle was huge. After all, the heart of the Empire, the Imperial Palace, as well as many other facilities, were located within. Oh, what about me? These jerks only allowed Hyneth inside and treated me like a piece of wood. "But this person here, where is he going?" Hyneth asked, looking at me while going inside the door courteously opened by the Imperial Knight. "Please do not mind him. Only when the Knight Academy selections are ongoing do crazy commoners appear." "See crazy? Arg." The Imperial Knight's words were as impolite and disdainful as ones directed to a low-level character in a game. But what could I do? Even I couldn't cause a row in front of the Empire's inner castle. The moment I tried anything funny, these top-level Imperial Knights and thousands of soldiers would definitely swarm me. So that's the case. He looked alright, but it's a shame. Wasn't there a saying that a gangster who was hitting you was still more likable than an onlooker? With a regretful look, Hyneth looked me over from head to bottom, nodded, and turned to disappear within the inner castle. This BS. Right now, I could only keep my curses contained. I took a deep breath to steady myself in preparation to speak to the Imperial Knights again. That's right, it wouldn't be any fun if any dog or cow could become a Sky Knight. Grandpa told me that only by overcoming great hardship could one become a great person. I found my composure and consoled myself. It was said that a person could endure insults for years if it was for revenge. I harbored a strong commitment to rising past these affronts and getting the gold medal. No, the Sky Knight title and a territory of my own. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. These guys are funny. When I quietly showed these Imperial Knights who refused to budge my grade 1 mercenary badge, they revealed shocked expressions. Even an Imperial Knight had to recognize this badge, which I had received at the Mercenary Guild. It meant that I was at Oronite level. "You guys, geniuses descend from the sky above?" The Imperial Knights stared at me with frowns on their faces for a long time, clearly conflicted by my young age. I could feel their despair upon seeing a genius like myself. But geez, it's huge in here. As soon as I entered the inner castle, a huge space opened up to my eyes. There were countless things to see within the capital itself, but what I saw now was on a different level. A long road that could easily fit 4 carriages snaked out throughout the grounds, dotted with gardens. And the buildings, they were huge and numerous. I saw many buildings with their own unique charms in this area, which was larger than any college campus I'd seen. That must be the Imperial Palace. Behind the buildings stood a real-life Imperial Palace. Maybe it was made with marble. The fairly large palace walls shone with a milky glow in the sun. Behind the walls, I spotted countless spires. I could tell there was an entirely different world over there. This all belongs to the Emperor, right? Impressive. America's White House, Korea's Blue House, and China's highly touted Forbidden City couldn't even compare to the scale of the Bajran Empire's Imperial Palace. I could clearly determine what kind of position the Emperor occupied. This is where the Sky Knight Academy exam is held. Maybe thanks to my grade 1 mercenary badge, the soldiers didn't speak down to me. After walking about 20 minutes, we stopped in front of a building that looked to be 4 floors tall. Is this it? Why is it so small? I wondered. The Wyvern Sky Knights rode were huge, after all. Not only that, but there were Imperial Sky Knights riding black wyverns within the capital. But the building in front of my eyes was only 4 floors high, and it looked like an elementary school building next to all the other ones. Is there a problem? With a disciplined tone, the red-caped Imperial soldier asked me if something was wrong. No, there's no problem, but aren't there wyverns at the Sky Knight Academy? Doesn't that require more space? Huh, wyvern. The Imperial soldiers looked at me as if seeing an alien from outer space. One of them seemed to realize something and began to chuckle. No, is that not the case? Just because a hillbilly came to Seoul, they wouldn't automatically become a Soulite. This is exactly what was happening to me now. Without the internet or search sites, I couldn't just look everything up, so I just blinked my eyes and waited for the soldier's next words. Wyverns are not allowed into the Imperial Palace. Huh? What do you mean? Besides the few wyverns that are raised by members of the Imperial family, there's a separate base for wyverns outside the Imperial Castle, due to security reasons. Damn, now I look like a total idiot. The reality was that I, a person who wanted to become a Sky Knight, knew nothing about them. Even the soldiers were looking at me as if I were pathetic. Then what is this place for? It is the Sky Knight Academy. The building in the shape of a spire over there is the Empire's Imperial Magic Academy. And that place with the spacious drill hall is the Empire's Imperial Knight Academy. And the forest behind those is the Summoner Academy. Oh, at the soldiers' friendly explanation, my face stiffened with embarrassment. I looked like someone who knew absolutely nothing. I thought I had gathered enough info, but the path I must walk ventured all the way into the sky. Once you go inside, there should be an officer in charge. If you are accepted into the Sky Knight Academy, you will receive various kinds of training for 2 years, and afterwards, you must be allocated a wyvern as well as a peerage in order to become a Sky Knight, explained the Imperial soldier with a congenial air. Thank you. If we meet again, I will remember this favor. I was really grateful. Please do so. I will pray to the goddess of blessings, Semire, for your success in becoming a Sky Knight. The Imperial soldier cheered me on, which made me feel a bit better. 2 years, you say? It really wasn't short time. But since I was already so invested, I decided to simply enjoy my time here. Rather than wasting time by thinking about this and that like an idiot, I would gain more experiences by trying out new things. Let's just pass the test for now. The Sky Knight Instruction Hall before me housed a drill hall as large as a school football field and a neatly manicured lawn. I headed for the door with powerful steps. Wow, the view from outside was worlds different from the view inside. Originally, I had been disappointed by the Sky Knight Instruction Hall's size. After opening a door engraved with a wyvern carving, the sight of the expansive hall blew me away. A wyvern imbued with preservation magic. Surprisingly, within this 4-floor hall, a black wyvern was proudly showing off its dignity with its wings stretched out towards the skies. It's huge. Even though it was long dead, this huge wyvern still exuded the prowess it had possessed in life. I even wondered if it was maybe made of metal, with its gleaming black hide and enormous black wings, pitch black snout, and enormous black feet. The one area that sparkled was the sharp teeth that looked like they could rip apart anything. Even its eyes were pitch black. The sight of this black wyvern made my breath hitch. Is this why black wyverns are called the best of the best? It felt like a fundamentally different level from the wyvern I had fought with in Fiori territory, like comparing a cat to a tiger. If I could ride something like this and fly in the sky, my heart began to thump wildly. In this moment, my vague dream was manifested in the flesh. I imagined myself riding a black wyvern unbridled in the skies. So we meet again. You annoying commoner. Just as I was about to kiss a drop-dead, gorgeous beauty in my daydreams, a sworn enemy of mine poured cold water all over my beautiful dreams. Alfonso! Arg, you shitty bastard. I really couldn't help but curse. Ho ho! From your expression, you must have been imagining yourself flying atop a black wyvern. You're truly a person who does not acknowledge your place, came a nasty bitch's voice from behind me. Luciella, these people sure were desperate to seek their death. I narrow my eyes and turn my head. You look good together, you pair of cockroaches. This perfect couple's expressions conveyed that I wasn't welcome in their clique. We have already passed the Sky Knight exam. Now you're left. If you are unable to pass, then it will be difficult for you to leave this imperial castle with your life intact, Alfonso said, grinding his teeth. If looks could kill, I would be well on my way to the gates of hell. Oh really? Looks like the exam was easy, since even nobodies were able to pass. And nobodies? The modern term, nobodies appeared after getting automatically translated into the Kalian continent language in my head. There was no way they knew this slang, which meant someone so insignificant that they couldn't be seen nor heard. Ah, there's a term like that, I said nonchalantly, rubbing my ear and looking inside the hall. Looks like that's the exam room. Though this was supposed to be the Sky Knight Academy, there weren't that many people milling around. Besides a few attendants walking around briskly, I couldn't see any other Knight Academy students. As I looked around, I noticed a room. A paper-marked exam room was hung in front of the room near the back of the hall. Then, see you later. The longer I stayed with these guys, the more my mental health would deteriorate. I headed towards the examination room with big strides. You damn bastard. Ark, said Alfonso, his voice ringing through the hall. You just wait for me. I will teach you from the ground up that life isn't easy. We would have a lot of time together in the future. There would be countless chances to annoy them. I opened the door and walked in. My goal was to pass this exam, which was held at the Sky Knight Academy of the most prestigious empire on the continent. My tension slowly rose. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. HM? What's this? I saw something that gave me pause within the exam room. A defense magic circle? It was a considerably large space that could fit 5 or 6 classrooms. A defense magic circle that could protect against magic or physical harm was inscribed in the center. Behind there was an antique desk where 3 people sat. There was an old mage who looked like he had a prickly personality, a courteous-looking Imperial Knight, and a white-haired Sky Knight with the same attire as Irene. Of course, it wasn't just them. There were also 3 young mages and 5 Imperial Knights, as well as 2 Sky Knights standing behind them. A person overseeing the proceedings from his desk in front of the door asked me a question, drawing my attention. Are you an applicant? I am. What is your full name? Full name? Kyer. Excuse me? While writing down my short, full name, the official stopped and stared at me. I'm a commoner. At my words, he didn't even respond and just nodded. It seemed like in this neighborhood, if you weren't a noble, it was really hard to be treated with courtesy. Commoner, unlike the person who was taking care of the forms, someone else reacted to my identity as a commoner. It was the white-haired man dressed as a Sky Knight. Everyone is stronger than me. I couldn't tell at first, but the pressure of the aura in this large room was telling me that. A mage of at least the 6th circle and a blade knight of a similar level. Upon meeting such strong people, goose flesh naturally rose all over my body. I need to separate my mana circles. This was something I had practiced during my 2-month-long journey. Originally, the upper, middle, and lower Dangian were combined to form my mana circles, creating a truly unique circle. In preparation for a day like today, I had practiced separating them. In this world, it was dangerous to live with all your cards exposed. I sent a little mana into the upper and middle Dangian and gathered the rest in my lower Dangian, which would distinguish me as a knight. Magic is my last resort. I had used magic in the inn, but considering Alfonso didn't bring it up, it seemed his 2 dogs didn't tell him I was a mage. No, for someone so prideful, he probably just didn't believe it. Yes, I am Kyer from Luna Village in Dapis Kingdom's Fiore Viscounty, I said, preemptively answering the next question. I am the vice-captain of the Imperial Guard Sky Knights, Marquis Mermoz. A marquis? Whoa, that's impressive. He was a marquis of not just a kingdom, but an empire. Because I was able to discern what kind of lives nobles had from my travels, I knew what an incredible position a marquis held. Be it barons or viscounts, as long as they were on their territory, they were no different from kings. A lord was the supreme commander who held the absolute power of life and death over their residents and determined everything between taxes, laws, and military force. Moreover, a marquis was one of the top dogs, only under the emperor and dukes. It was an incredible position that received the title of Your Excellency. Then those people should be of a similar stature. The people sitting stoically next to the marquis were surely also at least marquis level. So I get to see 3 marquises, an existence most people never see even once in their lives. If not for this opportunity, how would a commoner ever have the opportunity to see such high-ranking nobles? In this world, it was law to prostrate yourself right away when a person of such high bearing was passing by. It is an honor to meet you, Marquis Mermoz. If things went well, this person could even be my boss later. In the style of this world aristocrats, I bowed with my left arm on my back and my right arm folded in front of my chest. HNG, for a commoner to imitate nobles, how very fearless. Oi, Were you a noble as soon as you popped out of the womb? You old shriveled fish, you look like a skull wrapped in leather. I poured unspoken insults towards the grumbling mage. In such an exam room, where equality is sought after, how could I act with the mannerisms of a commoner? Though it may cause discomfort, please forgive this affront with a generous spirit. This 21st century commoner who feared no one wouldn't lose spirit just like that. Huh, aren't you a fun fellow? To be so bold towards the Marquis Kerman, the overseer of the Imperial Magic Tower. What? The Imperial Magic Tower. Even with my limited knowledge, I definitely knew about this existence. They say that the Empire's Imperial Magic Tower only permits 7th Circle mages to join. Then, that skullhead is a 7th Circle mage. I felt like I had just stepped in horse poop. There was nothing good about getting noticed and targeted by this prickly old mage, but I'd already stepped on his foot in this exam room. My life wouldn't be easy going forward. I was perhaps one of the only people who had ever spoken so boldly to a marquis, a position which even I considered amazing. You had to be either crazy or eager to die to do so, or be like me and just not give a shit about anyone else. HMF, you're just a commoner. The mage snorted out of his nose like an ill-tempered girl. You prickly bald eagle. I'll remember you. I decided to remember this skullhead who looked like a bald eagle with only a few pathetic strands of hair. I had the ominous foreboding that he would be the cause of many bad memories for me in the future. I will be in your care, Your Excellency Kerman. Despite my feelings, I bowed to the skullbaldy as well. All right then, what is your speciality? Since you were able to participate in this exam even as a commoner, know this. If you came to sully this exam room with paltry skills, then you'll have to take responsibility, said Marquis Mayor Mose with elegant words befitting his stature. They said a 4th Circle Mage and Blade Knight are the minimum levels, right? There was one point that puzzled me. Sky Knights were revered as the continent's best knights as soon as they were selected. However, not all Aura Blade users and mages chose to walk that path. The requirements are just Blade Knight and the 4th Circle, so why doesn't everyone at that level choose to become Sky Knights? I wanted to ask, but it wasn't possible right now. It was also guaranteed to invite insults of stupidity from that skullhead mage. FO show. FO show. Oops. What should have come out of my mouth while nodding was of course, but the casual speech I'd become used to in school came spilling out instead. Excuse me, it is a habit of speech trending these days in the southern part of the continent, meaning of course. I see. FO show. Unlike other marquises, Mayor Mose felt like someone with a frank demeanor. I watched him roll a slang word in his mouth with something like fascination. But why is a marquis only the vice captain? For regular people, a person like an empire's marquis was as hard to meet as the emperor himself. The master of the Imperial Magic Tower, Kerman, was also a marquis, and the person sitting next to him was definitely also a marquis. I'll probably find out later. My curiosity was surging, but the exam came first. Which method will the exam use? I asked. Method? The exam is simple. Put mana into this mana stone and measure your amount of mana. And if you meet the required amount, you pass the first part. Then the last part is that you must receive the recognition of Marquis Kerman or Marquis Estain, leader of the Imperial Guard. And that concludes the test. It's easier than I thought. The exam was much easier than I had heard. I nodded in understanding. Mana stone, huh? A stone that measures one's quantity of mana. HM. The relevant magic information came to mind. If mana was inserted, it would shine according to the quantity. Let's not overdo it and just try to pass. Was there anyone who would expose all their cards to strangers? I slowly walked forward and approached the large mana stone placed in front of Deus. At that moment, the sound of energetic knocking rang throughout the room. Then, all eyes were drawn to the slowly opening door, which creaked as it opened. That girl is... It was the thin girl who looked like a shoujo manga protagonist, Hyneth. She had gone into the inner castle sooner than I had, but she was only now entering the exam room. Flowers. Hyneth walked in with a bright and shy smile, looking like a living doll. In her hand were a few unknown flowers, clearly from the garden. Her dress was also dirted with a few blades of grass. She's even got one behind her ear. She even had a flower behind her ear. She wasn't even the heroine from Glass No Cayman, but there was a small flower blooming behind her right ear. I began to tremble with laughter. I am Hyneth of the Petron Count family. I have come here today to take the Sky Knight exam. I humbly request your guidance. P.E. Petron. Okay. As soon as Hyneth entered, The displeasure in the skullhead mage's eyes changed, and he instantly looked as if he had stepped on poo. The other marquises, as well as each and every one of the knights and mages behind them, revealed expressions of fear. What's with their expressions? It was as if they were eating soup from a restaurant and discovered a bug floating around in the broth, or as if they were about to kiss a beautiful woman after much legwork and then spotted a piece of food stuck in her teeth, completely shattering the imagery, or if they had pooped a big one and reached out for toilet paper only to find an empty roll. Everyone's faces were contorted by various, complicated emotions. Are you that Hyneth? Asked Sky Knight Vice Captain Marquis Mayor Mose, his previously relaxed expression nowhere to be found. I don't know what you could possibly mean, sir, but there is only one Hyneth belonging to the Petrons. I am the only child. I was amazed by her demure demeanor. This girl, exuding shyness, reminded me of a young miss carefully cultivated in the Yi dynasty. But for some reason, even though this doll-like manga character girl was exceptionally pleasing to my eyes, the stiff expressions of the others in the room weren't loosening up anytime soon. Mayor Mose let out a deep sigh. Passed, he said with a low voice, giving Hyneth a free pass. WTF. An immediate acceptance happened right in front of me. I was able to confirm with my perfectly healthy eyes that Hyneth gained admittance without even taking the test. However, I couldn't raise an objection. After all, the decision was made by a marquis who could determine my very life or death. And I could feel that he was dealing with the situation in the only way possible. Thank you very much. Then, this humble one shall withdraw. Holding the front of her dress with one hand, Hyneth gave a graceful curtsy. She looked as if such an immediate acceptance was only natural. Wow, what is her identity? Hyneth was still a completely unknown character to me. There was only one thing I could tell from people's expressions. They were somehow clearly warning me to never get close to this girl, Hyneth.